Hi, accounting students. This is the second video for part E of the project. We're going to look at the forecasting function and then the under and over applied overhead. So we're going to go back to the project we were working with. Here we go. So we had done part 1, and you'll notice we left this section open. We will come back to this portion now in a few minutes, but we'll focus on the forecasting first. And what we have here is the previous sales of snowboards and sandboards for the last 3 years, as well as the current year, and we need to forecast next year. Now, there are various ways of doing this, and Excel, the PC version, does have a very good forecasting function that can cope with seasonal variations, but we're going to just take this simply and do it step by step without using advanced functions. We will use forecasting, but you could have used linear regression, you could have just worked out a straight line function, high-low method, and that would have worked just as well for the normal forecasting. What we are going to have to do if we're going to use any kind of straight line function is to smooth out the seasonal variations. So we do that by working out a 3-period, writing the word here, average, a 3-period moving average. Again, you could have just added them up and divided by 3. I'm just using that average function. And I'm going to go and copy that function for the snowboard sale or sandboard sales as well. Okay, now these numbers here are smoothed out. They have been adjusted because you have 3-period average, which have smoothed out the up and down curves. I can now go and use forecasting to project future sales. So here I'm going to go a little bit slowly on my empty cell, which is here. It's not in the next period, but it's in the last period of the current year. I'm going to go equal to, and I'm going to go forecast. Again, there is a forecast seasonality function. You can see that come up. I'm not going to try use that. You could probably, with the original data, see it listed over here. EST forecasting. I'm just going straightforward forecast, which is going to use linear regression. Okay, so my known X, I want to work this out for period 12. Now my known Y's are the previous data, and my known X's, the correspondings, are periods 2 to 11. And there we go. It's giving me my forecast. It's seasonal adjusted average. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to set it up again because I don't have the 12 lined up here. So I'm going to go equal to forecast. I think it'd be actually exciting if some of you do try the forecast seasonal one. And we'll go with the known Y's, and the known Y's are my data set for the sandboard, sorry. And for the periods will be corresponding periods 2 to 11. There we go. And I can copy that formula down. Right. That's great. I have my smooth projection for next year, but I need to know what my variations are going to be. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go and work out for each period what the difference is between the actual results and the smoothed curve. You could do it the other way around. I've just done it that way. And I can only do it all the way up to that point where I have data set. And I'm going to do the same thing again. For the sandboards, I'm going to take the actual results and subtract the smooth results. Now, I'd already set my little tables up here. You will probably need to do that. So what they are is they are for periods 1, 2, and 3, the differences. So if I look, for example, back here at my snowboards, for period 2, there's a difference of 450. For period 3, plus 1730. For the next year period, 1 minus 1283. and I keep filling them in. I bring in all the differences that I have all the way down here to 18211. Let me just make sure that should be the. I will not bring in that one. My apologies. I'll stop at 466. Why do I not bring in the 1821? Well, the smooth number is an average that I created. You can bring that in. I chose not to. But I do have enough data over here to be able to work out my averages. And I have the same thing for my sandboard. So I can work out my seasonal adjustments. So how am I going to use this? Well, in period 1, what I'm going to go and do, and you can go over here and check that it actually works, but I can go and bring in my my seasonal variation. For my seasonal variation for period 1 must be 1300, and for period 2 it's equal to 466, and for period 3 it's equal to 1766. So my projected results then will be, let me get this right, we are taking the average and we are adding the adjustment. So that gives us 399, 1288, and 1350. Before I go and compare those to what I had projected before, I just want to note that I would probably round them manually. So this will probably be 1290, and this would be 3550. If we take these numbers over here, let's go highlight them, and we then go and compare them to what we had projected previously, where we were just guessing, we'll see that they're not different. 400, 1300's 10 off, and the next one's 50 off. So not bad. And we'll do the same sort of thing on the sandboards. We'll bring in our adjustments. Period 1, period 2, period 3. We'll add them together. I'm going to round them. These might be a little bit more different to what we had forecasted, but again, you can go and compare them and you can see how different they were. We had 1820, that's 1900. This was 600, that forecast at 580, so 20 off. This one was a little bit further off. We had forecasted 360, and our original guess was 220, but still not bad. Okay, and again, you could have used this seasonal forecast and with the forecast function, and then you wouldn't have had to done that extra work. And there are other ways to do it as well. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to go look at, and this we'll have to play around with, it's not that easy, is the adjustments for our under or over applied overhead. Okay, so what's going to happen here is we're assuming, if we had to go and do the full layout here, that your fixed costs are going to be allocated, and I want to go and put this working, and you can go put everything in, but I definitely want this one. Your fixed costs are going to be allocated based on the units produced multiplied by your fixed cost per unit, which in this case was $20. So we're going to go and look at the fixed costs that were actually allocated in the particular period. Now, that is based on level of production. Our actual fixed costs, though, are going to just be fixed. So these are not going to change. So my other fixed costs, there we go, 25,000. So if we look in this particular case, sorry, that was wrong. Just copy forward from previous one, and the same here. These stay the same. You have to be careful when copying these formula forward. Okay, so we'll see that every period we're allocating, well, our actual fixed costs are about 25 plus 8. That's probably about $33,000. However, in terms of what we've allocated anywhere from 8,000 up to 72,000. So there's going to be a difference between an allocated or applied amount of 8,000 and the actual overhead for the period. So I'm going to go bring in my allocated amounts. And here's where we might have to just play a little bit with our signs. But what we want to do is we want to look at the under over applied allocated overheads. So in this case, it's going to be under applied. So our overhead in this particular period is going to be equal to under over applied overhead. It's going to be the difference between what we allocated and our actual amount. So we're going to subtract those two amounts. Again, we can go back and change the sign if that's not what we're looking for. So let's just think about it in terms of the sign and why we're comfortable with it. What we want to do is we haven't allocated enough overhead. So we want to go and allocate that extra overhead, which is then obviously going to go and reduce our gross profit for that particular period. Except in the last period where we allocated too much, so there we'll actually go and we've got an over applied, and that will increase our profit for that particular period. Okay, and you'll notice that our balance sheet still balances, so that has no impact on our balance sheet. Okay, so this will be an extra 2 bonus points, and then the forecasting will be 5 points. It'll take you from 95 up to 100. I hope that this helped. And yep, I look forward to seeing you in class.